Hello everyone, my name is Russell. Welcome back to the Turn Christian series. I know it's been roughly 2 weeks since my last part, and I'm sorry about that. It's all my fault. I just haven't been feeling that well, and also had finals last week, but they're all over now, and we're good. I'm gonna get back in these tutorials. So with that out of the way, today we'll be doing the mask image for our terrain. Now if you don't know what the mask image is, basically it's a selection of colors, which have to be very arbitrary and very like flat colors. There's no blending or anything, which define where the textures are on our map and also where our clutter is. We'll be going over all of those today. We'll be making a mask image and we'll be getting it in game. Now before we get into this, I will clarify I'm not using the tutorial map that I used last time. I'm actually using the map from SciTech Industries. If you don't know this, what SciTech Industries is, it's our current project. Link will be in the description if you want to check it out. It's at the same stage as a tutorial map, so there's no differences, so it should still follow along perfectly fine. Don't worry about it. But just on screen, you'll see a different map than what I was using 2 weeks ago. So with that out of the way, let's get into it. Now first thing, you want to load up your World Creator project that we worked on last time, if you saved it. Now, this tutorial, I will be using World Creator a lot. I know on the past tutorials, you could sort of avoid World Creator, use other programs. However, for the way that I like to make my mask images, I will be using World Creator. You can get around this. You can in L3D auto-generate a mask image, although it's usually not the most preferred way. And the overall best way to make a mask image is to hand make it, but I like to use World Creator as a general blockout. So if I hide my sat map here, you'll notice that I've created a simple colored map. Now the simple way I've done this, if I just hide all these layers, if we go to our textures tab that we had last time, make a new layer, and you just make this layer completely flat with nothing, this is where you'll start. Firstly, you want to add any texture. It can be any one of these textures. I just like to add grass because this is going to be my general grass layer. So you make a general grass layer. Don't put any filters on it. Keep it all default. Secondly, you are going to want, well, in my case, I'm using 5 different textures right now. So we will be making 5, but you'll only see I'm using 3. I'm going to have one grass texture, a grass variant. So it's sort of an alternative to the normal grass here. I'll be using a second version of that. And then I'm going to have a cliff texture, then a snow texture, and a forest texture. But the snow and the forest we will do in Photoshop instead, because there's a bit easier way to get like exactly what you want. So in here, we're only going to have our base grass texture. Then this is our alternative grass texture, which if I enable it, you'll see these orange sort of ravines. Basic way I did this, I'm using the concave filter, just right down here. And then I'm also using a slope select, which is only from 0 to 41 meters. And make sure you turn off smoothness. Now you can leave it up, it's just once you export it, we're going to remove the smoothness anyway, so it's best to keep it as low as possible. This stage is really just however you want to texture your map, this is how you do it. So I'm not going to go step by step, but the basic gist is add a texture, make it sort of the general region of what you want. Don't make it really look good, because this isn't going to really mimic what our map looks like. But then to get the locations of it. Next up, we're going to go to our rock texture. So this is for all of our mountains and cliffs. You'll notice that I did a slope select, turn off all smoothness, well, as much as possible, and then put it over our mountains. And you can quickly enable and disable your actual sat map to compare. Now, it's not going to be dead accurate, obviously, because real life conditions are not the same as World Creator. But for the most part, you can mimic it. You'll see that we're getting close. I could actually maybe hide this and then drop this down a little bit more. See, get a little bit more region on there. I like to usually keep the cliffs fairly high. And then you can also do a height select if you so choose. Move this up to like 2,000 meters as your highest point and your lowest point to a little bit lower. But well, in this case, we would also have to disable our slope select. But you get the general gist. You're just making an outline for all your objects. In this case, if I wanted to also do a height select, I could easily just duplicate this layer and then make it also a height. But we're just going to keep this on slope. So now we have our 3 textures out of our 5, and we're missing forest and snow. Now, snow is a very different texture because we can easily isolate the snow. So in this case, you know, all the white, you can easily isolate this in Photoshop. and which we'll be doing. And you can also do it in GIMP. I know you can just select by color. That's what we'll be doing it. We'll be selecting the color and then sort of placing it down on our mask image. So we won't be doing snow in World Creator, and also we won't be doing forest, because forest more comes down to, I want this all to be forest. I want this, like, you know, the certain sections of the map. So that's more better to be drawn on rather than auto-generated. So now we have those three textures. We want to hide our sat map. Click on the export button up here. Click on your color map, not splat map. Make sure it's color. Format, it could really be any. I just choose BMP. I don't know, my preferred. And make sure you flip the Y-axis, because you'll remember last time we had to flip the Y for all of them. Now you want to click export. And you can save this wherever. I'm just going to put this on my desktop. Call it color map.bmp. Save it. Give it a second to export there. And in this video, I do know I'm going over fast, but I'm not so much going into the specifics, but rather teach the general concept so you can do it yourself. I know that's not preferred for a lot of people, but with this much info and Arma 3 Turing creation, it's usually easiest if you do it yourself. So I'm going to move over this color map onto my Photoshop. Here we go. Now there's just one problem. You'll notice that we still have a bit of fading in here, which is the one thing that you do not want in any circumstance for Arma, because theoretically, the way that Arma looks at it is it reads every pixel, it checks what the color of that pixel is, and then dependent on the color, it assigns a texture. Now in this case, if we open up our color switcher here, you'll notice fading, it's changing that color right there, which you don't want. So simple fix of this is go image, adjustments, brightness and contrast. I would click use legacy and just bring this all the way up. Now this will get a bit ugly really fast, but this is your mask image. It doesn't matter what it looks like, you just need very strict colors. Now that you have that, you'll still notice that we have a few colors that don't make sense. Remember, we only had 3 textures, but we have 4. See this green, and there might be a few others on here. So a simple way you can fix this is go image, go to mode, and then make this indexed. Now you want to make it these settings non-transparent, force black and white, palette to be exact, and click OK. So now you can go to mode and then click on color table. This part in GIMP, I don't know if it's possible. I'm sorry, but again, this is my method, my strategy. If you don't like my method, follow the PMC tutorial. Sorry. You'll notice it picked up our green texture. Now the thing is, we don't want this to be green. We rather want this to be black, because wherever you go, you'll notice the green is always outlining this black one, so you know that that's where it came from. Simple way, you select it, and now we know that black is just 0, 0, 0, so you just select it and make this all zeros. And now you'll notice all the green pixels are gone. Now the thing is, there's also a white texture in here, although I don't see where this white is. And this could happen to you if you just don't see it, if maybe it's 1 pixel on the whole screen. Best way to do it, select it, press OK, and just press delete. And that'll remove it. It'll make it default to black, or you can make it to whatever texture you want. But the noticeable ones, like the green, for example, that's what you should be able to see. So now we have our 3 color palette, 3 colors, good. Next up, we want to bring in our proper satellite image. So if we go over to our P drive, click on Rust. I have changed my folder layout. For you, this will be the same. For you guys, you'll go into your tutorial map. You'll go to your source, and then you'll drag in this sat map. For me, my folder layout is a little bit different. It's in my layers, and then, it is in my full map and then source, my fault. Now I'm going to drag over my sat map. Make sure you go to mode and go back to RGB. You want this to always be on RGB. Colors should still all be good. Drag in your sat map. That should be good. Click OK. Now image size, you want to upscale this. Currently we're only at 4K, and we want to go up to, our map was 8K, yeah, so 8096 by 8096. Sorry, that's not the right one. It's 8192. That's the one. This really just comes down to remembering it. Alright, so now that you've scaled your map up to 8192 by 8192, instead of resampling, you're going to want to click on nearest neighbor. This will keep the pixels to be the colors that they are, and it will keep it sharp. Because remember, we don't want any form of blending. And I can actually give you an example real quick. So roll out. So if we go back to here, go over to our image size, and then 812, and we keep this on automatic, notice our edges will blend slightly. One thing we don't want. See? Now they're all blending. Simple way, image size, keep this on 8192, and make sure this is on nearest neighbor. There you go. Now we have our sat map placed on top, which is exactly what we want. Drag a 2-second document. Now you want to go to Image, Adjustments, and click on Desaturate. Now this will make it pure black and white, which is exactly what you want. You can mess around with the levels a little bit and try to just get the whites. So somewhere around there. So you want to get as much as possible while maintaining that. And then once you get there, drag around the middle all the way to the bottom. Press OK. You notice that we have everything that we need. Now, another suggestion I would do is go to brightness and contrast, use legacy, and bring that all the way up yet again. Good. And that should be all of our snow layers properly selected. Now we might have some color filtering going on here. So again, we're gonna go to mode. We're gonna go over to our index colors. Exact color. So we only have 2 colors, so I think this should be fine. I did just readjust some of our colors. That is good. Go to mode, color table, only 2. Exactly what we want. Now you can switch this back over to RGB, and that should keep everything the way it needs to be. Awesome. So I'm gonna drag this layer over in here, place it on top of our whole map, align that. Now we're gonna do select color range, or the best way to do this, sorry, again, my fault, this video is a bit all over the place, but there's a lot going on. Use the magic wand tool, disable contagious, and actually just select the black. Now that should theoretically have selected everything. Now I went a little bit over. We're going to disable anti-aliasing. There we go. Now you just press delete. And now we can disable the sat map. You'll notice that we have the white covering everything. Perfect. All right, so that's 4 of our 5 textures in. Now our one final texture is going to be the forests themselves. Now this one, I would suggest creating a new layer, going over to your pencil tool. Now the brush tool has one slight problem. It likes to smooth. So you'll notice that we have all these little grains and everything everywhere. And it obviously filters through because it's supposed to simulate a brush. But we don't want to simulate a brush. We just want harsh colors. I'm going to go over the pencil tool, which is the second option. And then we're going to just drag this up. And you'll notice when we draw, it's a solid color. Now I would like to suggest to get maybe a brush which is a bit harsher, although I don't have any brushes right now which are rough. Will work. Let me just check real quick. Nah, these are all paint brushes, sorry. So now that we have this, we can select any color. I would suggest, get something that matches to make it look nice. So I'm going to use green, and then I'm actually just going to go around and draw over all my forest. Now this might seem a bit inefficient. There are ways to get a more automated method. You can do select color range and select this dark color, sort of green, and up the fuzziness. And you'll notice you get sort of this. However, that might work for you. Let's try it again with a little bit more fuzziness. There you go. And you can do edit, fill, and then your color. You'll notice that gets a good bit of it, but not as much as I would like. And that actually did a lot of weird stuff there. Seems to have smoothed it, yeah. There's always ways around it, but I figured out the best way for me at least is just to manually paint it. You can also do lasso selections. So if I just want this sort of forest, and easily go around it like such. And then I can go to my paintbrush and just color that in. And there we go. And it might have smoothed it there, but we'll go over it again and make everything just one color, so no worries. But I'm going to do this very quickly. In a proper case, you'd want to spend probably a long time on this. This will take a heavy amount of time, but to make your forest look proper, I found this is the easiest way. You can also, later on, that when we go over generating a forest, you can use the shape files from your forest instead, which might actually turn out better, because that's exactly where your trees will be generated, but we're just gonna ignore it. I'm only gonna do a few of these trees, so I'm just gonna do, let's say, that much. All right, now that you're here, you're gonna go to Image, Adjustments, Brightness and Contrast, use Legacy, up the contrast all the way that you can. Now, I would suggest merging the layers or flatten the image. There's no real difference. I like to break apart that. It doesn't make a change. Mode. Go to Index. You want to get this as low as possible. So remember, we only had 5 textures, so we're going to do 5. Give this a second. Press OK. Now, this should be the exact image that we want. And it seems like so. There's a total of 5 different colors, and oh. Now, File, Save As. We're going to go to our P drive, go to our main folder. In this case will be Source, and save this as a BMP. And we're going to name this, overwrite our mask image right here. Yes. You can keep this on 8-bit. It'll be fine. Perfect. So, next thing we can do is actually edit our config files to be able to read these textures and output them. So we're going to go to our layers.cfg. If you remember, we only had 1 texture last time, but now we have 5. I'm actually going to select these and make 5 copies. Right there, I just did Shift and Alt and the down arrow for Visual Studio Code. Now, if we go over to my textures folder, which for you guys, it should be 1 layer up, and then the data folder should be right in here. Mine's in a different location, just because that's how I put it. So I have renamed my grass, and so instead of grass, it's grass 01. I also have a grass 02 now. We have our rock cliff texture. And if you need, the thing is, I will not be linking these textures below. Sorry to inform you, but these textures specifically I'm not gonna make available, but you can easily get your own textures in Arma. Not that difficult. You just get the base color texture, and you just sort of drag it onto your .paa texture viewer and save it. That's all you need to do. There's a million tutorials of how to get textures in Arma, so you guys should be able to figure it out just fine. Next up is our forest. I'm just gonna put this right here. Remove the underscore co. And there we go. So now we have all of our different types. Now we need to do the same thing for our actual paths. All right, all good. So now we have our 5 textures. I also want to make a copy of our colors. So this is where it's going to read these exact colors. So I'm just going to make 5, 3, 4, 5. Good. And we're going to make these the same names as those. All right, perfect. Now open up your Photoshop again. Make sure you haven't closed this, and if you have, you can easily reload it. Now we're actually going to figure out our RGB codes. If you don't know, this is your R, this is your green, and this is your blue, RGB. They make up every color. Very simple. Open up your Photoshop, and we want our main grass texture to be this sort of yellow. So how do we get this? Well, we can easily click this color wheel over here, select the yellow, and you'll notice R is 255, G is 255, and then B is 0. We're going to set this to 255, 255, and keep that on 0. For our second grass, it's the same sort of idea. This one is red, so just pure red, so 255. You're going to want to do this for all of them. So I think our cliffs were pure black. They were 000. Our snow was pure white, 55. 255. 255. Open up Photoshop. Good. And then our forest was this weird ugly green, so 52, 63, and 45. There you go. So save your layers on CFG. You can close this now. You can also close your Photoshop. We're done here. I'm not going to save these. And now that you have done that, we can actually load up our terrain builder and build these layers. So let's give this a try. So click File, Recent Projects, and I'm going to open up mine from here. You can also click Open Project, but no real difference. Alright, so here's our terrain. Now, first thing we want to do is refresh our mask.bmp from the source, so refresh content from source. Notice it's searching for it. Mask.bmp, open. Let it go. Now we should be able to view our mask right there. Perfect. Make sure that your mask is properly set up. So terrain coordinates, 200,000, 8K. Perfect. Open your map frame. Go over to processing. All right, now that you're here, make sure you click Export Surface Mask. Select 5 materials for cell. I've seen a few people forget this. Make sure that is there. You can convert to PAA files right now. I'm just going to do it anyways. Others usually will take a little bit longer if it's in Terrain Builder, but just to be safe, I'm going to go for it. Click Generate Layers and let this do its thing. This may take a little bit, of course, but once this is done, you don't need to build it again. Also make sure, before you move on, to File, Export, and export your WRP. Put this inside your main folder and overwrite it. There you go. File, save, and close it. We're all done there. So next thing we're going to do is actually build our map, because before we go on with adding clutter, let's just make sure that everything generated properly and we have our map. Go to source folder, make sure you select whatever. So in your case, it will likely just be your map folder. Click select folder and then build. For me, I generated all of these in my layers folder, a separate location, just to build a little bit quicker, but it should work fine. Give this a little bit, it could take a while. Okay, it's all built. Now we can load it up in game and check it out ourselves. I think the recording might start lagging once I get in game. Sorry about that. OBS is a bit finicky and weird at times. I'm gonna hope that it doesn't, and yeah. Now I have my mod loaded up. If you don't have your mod loaded up, click local mods, go to the mod folder there. I think we did that last time. Yeah, we did. Again, the recording starts lagging. Sorry. I'll see what I can do. Okay, here we go in game, and if we go down to the surface, there we go. We have textures on the ground. Now, the way that Arma renders them is every pixel is its own texture, which is why everything is sort of in a square shape. Once you sort of add clutter onto that, it'll look a bit better. And then also, if I were to suggest, would be manually adding sort of a in-between texture between two. There is methods around it as well, which I might cover in a future way to sort of smooth this out. But for the most part, this is what you're gonna get. That's just the way Arma works. But you'll notice wherever we assign those images, we have a texture here. Now these textures aren't the most beautiful. I don't like them that much, but they're only temporary and you can always switch out textures. But just for now, proof of concept, I just needed something in here. You'll notice everywhere we go, we have these textures all lined up. If we go up here, we should see some rocks. There we go. That texture is a bit insane, but no worries, I can change it. All good. And then if we go over to this side, we should have our forest, our so-called forest texture. Very basic again, all mostly the same. But now that we know that our textures are working, let's actually go and add some clutter to our map. Get some grass in here. Now, I know in this last part, I did just mention that we would move on to clutter, but I have decided it might be better to do clutter in a separate video, and I'm going to actually end the mask image video here because it is reaching onto the 25-minute mark. Sorry about that again, but tomorrow I will have this clutter video up. It won't take long, be quick and easy, probably 10-minute video or less. But yet again, I don't want to stretch on this video for too long. I feel like just adding clutter onto mask would just be a bit too much. I know this video was very confusing and all over the place compared to my other ones, which you could easily follow. Mask imaging is one of those things that it really depends on what map you're making, because it comes down to a million factors. Like, what if your map is pure desert? Well, you probably only need 2 textures, like a sand and then maybe sand that has a little bit of stone in it, or like a variation. It really comes down to your map preference, and most of this video, I know I didn't really go into heavy detail, but it was mostly just to get down on the basic fundamentals of how the mask image works and how you can make your own. If you have any questions about it, please feel free to message me on my Discord below, or get in contact with me any other way. I'm willing to help out. I've helped out a few people already. And I'm always open. I'm online every single day, so there's no problem there. But again, thank you guys. I know it's been 2 weeks. Sorry about that. I've just been busy, but I'm getting back into these tutorials, and I hope that I can make them good for you guys. And I hope that we can get a map published for everyone here. Yet again, if you're enjoying these, please share them, like them. I don't know. I don't do this YouTube thing often, but apparently I'm supposed to say that. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.